Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone. I'll call this meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. Let's do our call to order. We'll start with roll call, beginning on the right.
Sutherland here.
Thatcher here. Ewert here.
King here.
Thompson here. So we have our quorum. Let the record reflect we have a quorum. If you would, let's all rise for the invocation and pledge.
Please bow your head. Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to gather here today and travel the roads and all get here safely, Lord. Thank you for our power here in the city not going out this week, as far as I know, and bless those whose power's been out, Lord, and hopefully get that turned on quickly, Lord. Again, thank you for allowing us to visit here. In Jesus' name, amen. Man, school's getting canceled.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Saying the prayer they canceled school. Just saying, coincidence? I think not.
They actually canceled it over there.
No, yeah. 30 minutes.
Okay. So now, no public comments tonight. And let's go to consent items, which were you gonna say something, Trevor?
I was just going to move to accept consent
There you
items
go.
as
Second.
presented.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent items are approved. A little rusty because we haven't been there since.
I feel like I've seen you all the last couple of weeks.
Let's see. 6.1, action to appoint citizen class board members. We,
Do we need a motion, Mackenzie?
Yes, do you want to recap, or you just want to roll with the motion?
Let's hear a recap.
That's
Okay.
a good idea.
The interview board, we received 4 applicants. 3 proceeded to interviews. We interviewed them last week, and the recommendation of the board are Mr. John Ferris and Ms. Brandy Putman. Both are here if you all have any questions. I have the little bio if y'all want me to read them for the record to the public that I sent earlier in email. Ms. Putman is a lifelong Winnsboro resident with deep ties to the community. She is a retired educator with approximately 30 years of service at Winnsboro ISD, including leadership roles in district-level special programs and policy development. In addition to her education background, she is a local small business owner and co-owner of BP Land Services and Irrigation, LLC, which has given her firsthand experience with business startup process, regulatory compliance, and financial management. Ms. Putman has served on several boards and civic organizations, including the Autumn Trails Association, Lake Country Antique Tractor Association, and Tenney Chapel UMC. She brings strengths in education, workforce development, nonprofit, outreach, and grant-related experience. Her perspective combines long-term community knowledge with practical expertise as a small business owner. You want me to go to the next one? Okay. The next one is Mr. John C. Ferris. Mr. Ferris brings extensive professional experience in finance, investment management, and strategic planning. He is a founding partner of Impact Financial Group, which manages significant assets for individuals and small business owners. His background also includes a long career in oil and gas industry, where he held senior leadership roles, including Vice President of Exploration. Mr. Ferris has served on a variety of boards and advisory committees and has significant experience with fiscal oversight, ethics, and regulatory compliance. He and his wife have demonstrated strong philanthropic, easy for me to say, thank you, involvement in Winnsboro, including support for the Winnsboro Education Foundation and the Cultural Arts Center, as well as facilitating a major grant partnership with the Moody Foundation. His skills align closely with financial analysis, long-term planning, and investment oversight. Both applicants bring valuable but different strengths to the board. And then just as a summary, sorry, I was just reading the rest of my email. That's it.
Congratulations.
So just to let you guys know, that will go to the city council at the next regular city council meeting, and then, so the first meeting you'll attend, assuming one's not called before then, will be the 4th Tuesday in February. That'll be your first EDC.
All right, item 6.2. The Winnsboro Center of Arts is making its annual request for funding.
Mary White, representing Winnsboro Center for the Arts. I'm here to request funding for our festivals again this year. You very generously supported us last year with $20,000 in support of our 4 festivals, and so we're hoping that you will do that again this year. We host 4 festivals, as I mentioned. Each has its own appeal, so collectively they reach a broad range of people. Of course, there's some overlap as well. For each festival, we have surveys that we distribute to visitors, trying to collect more information. And over the last few years, we've really tried to standardize these surveys, and we're getting a lot more useful information. A lot of people most people don't really enjoy filling out surveys, but it's really necessary to collect the information that we need. So we've limited ours to 5 very simple questions. Most are just circle a yes or no. We do ask for city and zip code information. We also explain to people that this really helps us with our grant funding. And once we do that, then people are much more receptive to taking the time to fill these out. So that's been really, really helpful. We also need attendance information for these festivals. And for years, we spent too much time trying to figure out how to count people and come up with formulas so that we could get an accurate assessment. It was really a lot of work, and so we're very grateful that the city has now purchased or I don't know if it's a lease or a purchase or whatever, but you have the geofencing technology, and we've been able to tap into that as a resource. And so this year during our cowboy music and poetry gathering, we also counted, and then we compared that with the geofencing numbers, and it was remarkably similar. So that was very reassuring. So by the time we came to Art and Wine Festival, we just used the geofencing technology. So I thought what I would do is go through each of these festivals just briefly, sort of tell you how we fared this past year, and then perhaps just a little bit about projections for next year. So I'll start with the Art and Wine Festival. That's our longest running one. This will be the 18th year for that. Cindy Ewert is the chair of that, and she runs a tight ship. People love to volunteer for that, and that draws in our largest crowds as well. So the Art and Wine Festival is really it's a fine art festival as opposed to arts and crafts. I mean, there's a place for both, but at least it means that we're not competing with the Christmas in the Park, or a bit later, the Autumn Trails has an arts and crafts festival. The thing about the Fine Art Festival, the art is juried, and so we know what to expect in terms of the general caliber. This also tends to bring in more high-end buyers. So the hope, of course, is that if people spend a lot of money at the festival, they also go to the restaurants and into the shops and spend money there as well. So this festival has been very successful. This year, the numbers came out to 3,600 attendees. When we looked at our survey data, and I forgot to mention now, for surveying, the goal is to get 25% of attendees surveyed, and that is very challenging. Think about with the 3,600, that's 900 people. So this year we actually collected 864 surveys at Art and Wine. So it's close enough that we say 25%. It's just a hair shy. But of those people, 48% were first-time attendees at the festival. 3% stayed overnight, which doesn't sound that high, but when you think about the numbers, it's over 100. And so that is enough to fill up Winnsboro. Of course, we would like to do better as well. We also had 4% of attendees who came from out of state. So that will leave art and wine and go into our cowboy music and poetry gathering. So whereas art and wine is, in a sense, it's a prototype, we tweak it a little bit each year, so there are always some differences, but it runs well and it's been successful, so we keep doing that. With cowboy music and poetry, it's still in its development, so we continue to experiment with different things. Delise Hart, who's here, is the chair of that project, and happy to answer any questions that you might have that I can't answer. So our attendance for that festival this year was 1,525. It's a little different in that they're both outdoor activities and indoor activities. And this year we added some things. So on Friday evening we had the downtown chili tasting on Market Street. Hopefully many of you were there. That was very enjoyable and seemed very successful. People really, they came to town, they heard some noise going on, and so they came over and came not knowing what it was beforehand. So we were really pleased with the outcome there. We also added vendors this year for both Friday evening and Saturday, and I think for a first time people were pleased with how that went. In addition to the activities on Market Street, now all day Saturday, we have family activities over on what we call the Elm Street lot, the vacant lot across from the post office. That's where we had a chuck wagon with free, authentic cowboy food. There were kids' activities, there was some corn husk doll making, and horseshoes and other things like that. We also added outdoor music at all of these venues. You know, we're finding we host the open mic night monthly, and that has brought in so many musicians who come and enjoy playing, and really opened our eyes to the number of musicians there are in East Texas. It's really a strong culture for us. And so we had stages set both on Elm Street and again on Market Street for regional performers who expressed interest in coming to play. We also, on Saturday morning, indoors on the Bowery stage, we had regional performers, and all of those were free performances, but they enjoyed playing and we all enjoyed hearing the good music. Now, so our survey data is for the outdoor activities. Essentially, that's where we surveyed Friday evening and then Saturday on the lot. So with that, we surveyed around 19% of people. 58% reported that they were first-timers, 7% stayed overnight, and 3% came from out of state. What was really interesting was for the paid concerts, and for the paid concerts, these are headliners that are nationally known as cowboy musicians and poets. And so that we sell tickets through Eventbrite, so that allows us to collect zip codes from all those people. So even though we didn't have the full survey data, we have the zip code data. And it was interesting to see that for that, 56% of people came from greater than 50 miles away. And the other striking bit of data was that 25% came from out of state. And you know, we suspected that because these performers have their groupies, if you will, that some of them follow them all over the country. We had people here from Pennsylvania, from Kentucky, and different places like that. So it's really interesting to see that. And I think that's important in terms of national recognition for us as a site for hosting cowboy poetry. So it's still sort of a balance, I think, long-term to really make this sustainable. It's really important that our local residents know about it, enjoy it, and take ownership. And I think that's certainly justified because we have such a rich cowboy culture here in this area. And so this year, Delise also worked a lot more closely with the Autumn Trail Society and also with the Rodeo Association. And we did a lot more cross promotion with those groups. And so we hope to continue that. Like I said, it's one that we're still developing, but we were pleased with this year. We're looking now at who we're bringing in for next year. We have two headliners confirmed there. One of those is Kristen Harris, whom many of you may know. She's an up-and-coming. She has a trio and does a very good job on social media, so has quite a following. And she's actually just made a movie called A Ranch Musical. And so I would love to be able to show that here. I've assumed that's out of our range, but I did just notice last night on the newsletter from Elko, which hosts a big cowboy gathering there, they're actually showing the movie there. So I'll have to talk to Carolyn Stout, and maybe we can see what we might work out there. But anyway, it's exciting to see this really come together, and like I said, we're still looking for new paths for taking that. I will also mention that ours is really one of the few cowboy gatherings in Texas. Alpine has the longest running one. They're past 30 years now, and it's also the largest. And then Red Steagle in Fort Worth, but that one's a bit more commercialized, and the joke is that sometimes you see more baseball caps than cowboy hats there. So it sort of attracts a different clientele. But apart from that, Fredericksburg has had one for the last several years, although we hear that they're struggling a bit. And Delise was just telling me that she's heard that Bastrop is organizing a really large one this year, and she's planning to go down and scout and see how they're running that one. So it will be interesting to see what kind of support they have, and if it can endure as well, because that seems to be the challenge for these. They're expensive to put on with the headliners coming. That it takes quite a bit. But on the other hand, they certainly have their followers and are doing well. So that's the status on that one. Moving down the list, now we have a festival of books, and this will be its 8th year. Attendance last year was around 1,000. Our survey was so much smaller. It was just under 10%, so not nearly as great as we'd like. We need to do better. Of those, we recorded that 76% were first-timers, 7% overnight, and 3% from out of state. Again, those numbers aren't quite as strong because of the lower number of surveys. Our book festival, it's a free event, and it's really for the purpose of promoting literacy and its value in storytelling, both for pleasure as well as it's therapeutic. We have some funding from Christus because of this direction that we've taken it. And I'll also just mention that some of you may not know that we host the Dolly Parton's library here, and that actually cost us $28 per child for that program. If you're not familiar with it, it's children who live in the 75494 zip code are eligible to receive a free monthly book, children from ages 0 to 5. And so it's a really good program for encouraging reading among early children, but it's not free for us. And so that's what we sign up children at the book festival, and then of course we're always looking for sponsorship as well. Looking ahead this year, well, last year Michael Gwynn, who is a very dynamic speaker, a spoken word and entertainer, and he will be returning this year to MC. We're also excited that we're working with our concert group at the Arts Center to collaborate there. Bob Livingston is a singer-songwriter, and he has also written a book recently. It's called Gypsy's Alibi, a Bongo Memoir. And so he is going to be giving a concert Friday night, also talking about his book, and then he'll be at the book festival on Saturday to sign books, and Michael will interview him. So we're excited about that. We're hoping the concert will help raise our attendance for that one. Then our last festival is Bloom, and that will be entering its 4th year. This was the brainchild of Chris Brown several years ago. He hosted an art exhibit and encourage merchants to decorate their storefronts and paint windows or whatever. It caught on very well. Everyone was very enthusiastic about it. And so realizing the potential for that, he handed that to the Arts Center, hoping that we would take it and continue to grow it. The first year we were competing with the eclipse, and it sort of got overshadowed. Last year, I think we did a little better, but we're still working out the issues, the details. We extended it last year for the month of April. The purpose was really to to stimulate the economy in an otherwise depressed time period. You know, after Christmas until April or so, things tend to be slow, and so why not decorate the city, make it attractive, try to bring in more tourists and help the merchants. So last year we did get a TCA grant, and the comments were very enthusiastic. They thought it was a great project, and we used EDC funding to match that grant. And we didn't really have opportunities for surveying because it was a little looser and going for a 4-week period. But we do, at the Art Center, we track the numbers of people who come into the center on a daily basis. And so I went back to the data there because we've been collecting it since 2023. And sure enough, when I looked at March versus April, there was a slight increase back in 23. We saw an 8% increase. But in 24, that increased to 45%. And then in 25, it actually was 61%. So, of course, that's just Art Center, and that's people coming through the door. But it was at least encouraging that within the city, we were seeing that, and hopefully some of the merchants as well. We did talk with merchants, and we had mixed reviews. Some did say that they had increases in business, whereas others weren't sure they saw a difference. So we still have some work to do there, but we're encouraged. So this coming year, we've shortened it to 3 weekends, and I think we have a much stronger plan for it. Denise Scott and Chris Brown is coming back to co-chair that. So this will also be a collaboration in addition with the city, but also with the Historical Museum. So they have developed some walking tours of the Cultural District, and they're working on some code so that you can read it on your phone as you go through. And so teaming up with them, we're going to paint windows along that walking path, and then we'll have walking tours giving the history as well as the artistic background for the town, helping to point out both aspects. And we think that will really help a lot. We also have talked to Chris Brown about commissioning some kind of sculpture to be more of a focal point. And so the challenge is to come up with something that's a sculpture in itself, but that could be decorated during bloom with flowers or whatever. And I think he's excited about this. He wants to do something really interactive where kids would get involved and all of that. So we think that's very positive. In addition, for each of those weekends, we have specific activities planned. So we have our spring, it's actually the artist reception for Bloom, but it's also our spring fundraiser. This year is Viva Las Vegas. A lot of people in town seem to really enjoy dressing up for parties. So it will be a fun event, and we'll draw people out. So that, in a sense, will be an opening for Bloom. Then the second weekend, it's not our event, but Cindy had told us that there's a pickleball tournament, and it's very nice that they have referred to that now as the Bloom Pickleball Tournament. So, we don't care what it takes to get people into town. The more activities we can have going on that bring people in, the better off we all are. So that will be the second weekend. And then the third weekend, we're pretty excited that we will have the ribbon cutting and soft opening for our new Creative Learning Center, our arts education building. And we think this is really appropriate because bloom, spring, that means rebirth as well, so it really fits in. We'll give tours of the building after the ribbon cutting, and it won't be completely furnished, but it just means there might be some donor opportunities for anyone interested in continuing to help with that. But we are really excited, and we think all of these things coming together helps to really structure Bloom, and we're optimistic that we'll do much better this year. We've applied for another TCA grant as well. So that's the overview of our festivals, and I'd be happy to answer any questions, but we hope you'll come along with us. I think, this year we worked much more closely with the city, and it's made everything work a lot more smoothly. We certainly want to continue that, and also more collaboration with other organizations in town.
I'd say thank you. I loved all the numbers and that you're collecting data. I think that's super helpful for what we do as a board to kind of where we can even use those numbers to help push our funding other places as well. So I really do appreciate all those numbers today.
Thank you.
So, you want to give us an update on the Art Center, which I was going to ask about. So that's fine.
One question I always have had is, it seems like you guys walk a little bit of a tightrope when the weather is kind of, so have you guys thought about a contingency plan for moving those activities and still being able to go forward?
Well, Art and Wine is the biggest challenge, and we have held it in some less than optimal weather. In fact, I guess 24 was a great example. It didn't rain that much, but it was cold.
Really cold.
And sort of miserable. And our attendance was down, but the people who came spent a lot of money. And so, the artists were happy. With Art and Wine, we have the tents. We just have to make the best of it. There's no place to take that. Now, Book Festival is also outside. Once the building's finished, if we had to, we could move a lot of things indoors. Everybody enjoys being outside. In fact, this last year, being up and down Market Street, people really got into it. They said it was the best setup yet. So we hope we can really continue to do that, but at least we could go in there.
Thank you, Nancy.
Anything else?
I move to approve the request for the Winnsboro Center of the Arts for $20,000 in funding the 2026 annual festival of events.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So it's approved.
I want to be a tour guide, by the way. On the walk to Bloom around the city. I think that'd be fun. A fun way for me to get to know the city better, but I think it'd be fun to be a tour guide.
You mean after you finish the pickleball tournament?
I'm not going to. I like pickleball to be fun, not to be super competitive. Well, if I enter a tournament, then I'm going to want to win, and then it becomes less fun.
We'll take you as a volunteer. 6-3.
Being a tour guide, I'm sorry.
It's the
Action and resolution.
There.
Yeah, if you click there.
Oh, here it is, here it is. 613, here we go. All right, 613, action on resolution 2026-03, adopting a business retention and expansion policy and implementation framework. So, you want to speak to the BRE?
Quick, yes, sir. This plan is a result of some fiscal year end funding that the EDC approved almost, it was 2 budgets ago, I believe, for fiscal year end funding. And it allowed us to connect with a consultant to help us identify kind of a roadmap for EDC and what our focus should be. And one of the things that came from that was a BR&E program, which is Business Retention and Expansion. It's been in the works for a little over a year, and what the consultant did is he came in town and met with several of our business owners who were very honest with them about some prior experiences that they had had with the city, and really, really good information for us to have. I do want to say for the record that all of the concerns that were expressed were prior to this existing current board and administration who was serving in my role. So these are just kind of some inherited issues and concerns that you all are going to face today. In part of that, and Carl attended this EDC training also in Mineola, one of the things that they said in that training is you need to dance with the one that brought you, meaning that recruiting is great, new businesses are great, new jobs are wonderful, but it doesn't do your city any good if you can't stabilize what you already have. And so what this program will allow the board to do is to shift our focus to stabilize our existing businesses and grow Winnsboro's existing businesses by restoring trust, reducing friction from prior administrations, and creating predictable professional business support. That has been one of the things, one of the reoccurring themes is we don't ever know what to expect. There's change in the board, there's change in administration, and nothing's consistent or predictable in nature when I come to the EDC. And so this program will help stabilize that, not only just for what we're doing, but the people who come after us also. So I sent a lot of information out over the past couple of days. Our next step, if you all adopt this resolution and pass this program, will be to schedule a BRNE workshop. I anticipate that to be, a half day would be really great, but if I could get you guys for a couple of hours at least, so that we can kind of lay that foundation and figure out how we can stabilize this, what we want it to look like. As part of the interview process that Trevor set in, there were some questions asked that he said, well, I don't even know how our board feels about that, and he's right. And so as part of that process and figuring out where we want to go, we'll be asking you guys some of those questions so that you all can help shape this program as we start implementing it. So happy to answer any questions. Just wanted to give you a high-level overview.
My understanding is it's a basic guideline that we help put us on an organized path to success. Any other questions on the BRE?
Comment. When I was on the Main Street Board, we tried to do a lot of this, and you remember, Cindy, when we were, we would have merchant meetings, we would talk to the individual owners of businesses, and I would say that I thought the idea was good at the time to do that, but I think it's more appropriate that it's located here at the EDC, really, rather than the Main Street Board. I thought it was kind of a stretch for the Main Street Board to try to get involved in the business decisions that some of the business owners faced, and I thought it was better. It kind of fizzled out. We were trying to do a bunch of different things, but one of the biggest things that we faced was a lack of trust from the business owners. When we would go and talk to them, it was a big issue. And you guys, all preceded us here in the current administration, but I think it's a big deal, and the trust issue is just something that's going to have to be worked on diligently and, as the city administrator said, consistently, where the message to the businesses is the same. So I think it's a great program. I think it's a fantastic idea for us to do this. It doesn't cover some of the hardest decisions that businesses face that are here. We lost the cleaners here because basically he couldn't make any money because he didn't really know who to hire. And he was here for a year, basically about a year. He really wants to be here in Winnsboro, and I think, I don't know how we, as an EDC, solve that issue to help them with the job bank or, without incurring any liability for the city or anything. I don't know. But I think that being creative and helping people, and this is a good step in doing it. So I'm in favor of this idea very much.
Had we had this in place at the time the cleaners were thinking of going out of business, we would have known they were thinking that and could have headed it off. And as it was like, oops, they're gone,
Yeah.
before we even
Yeah.
found out.
Yeah.
So that's a good point, I think.
I agree. Going back to the interviews the other day, a big focus of mine was how do we see retention in the businesses we have, really before growth, making sure we have that strong economy before we're trying to build and grow. So I think it'd be great.
Okay, can I get a,
Okay, I move to approve Resolution 2026-03, adopting a business retention and expansion policy and implementing framework.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 643 passes. Excuse me. Oh, 614, officers, board officers positions. Excuse me. I don't really know how to go about this, so I don't know about this.
So If you all want to go ahead and take action tonight, you can. If you'd like for it to say same, that can be the simple motion. Currently, Mr. Thompson, you serve as the board president. Ms. Ewert serves as the co-chair, vice president, and the city's finance director as the treasurer, and the city secretary as the board's secretary. So those would be the options before you tonight. If you want to wait till the other members are seated so they can have a voice, you can. If you anticipate to say the same and just want to check this off the list, then that's certainly an option too. But you would just start with the nomination.
I would move we stay the same, but it's hard since I'm one of the people that holds a position.
At this level, you actually can, you have the ability to do that. It's a little
I'll
different
move
on
that we
council.
keep what
Are
we
you
have.
good with your position? Keep it the same.
So Thompson, Ewert, and secretary and treasurer, same.
Would you
That was a
make a
motion.
motion for that?
Yes, that was a motion. Trevor, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 6.4 is, I'll call it continued. What else we got? Adjournment, so. At this time, we'll adjourn this meeting at 6:09.